Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So in today's video, we will be talking about the numerous storm potentials, not snowstorms, but large spring storm systems that can have a snowy side, but not enough to really warrant it a snowstorm. So a few of those systems, we have one going on right now across the southern United States, and in general, just talk about the weather, okay? So if you guys at any point, you're watching this video and you seem to enjoy it, like it, check out the channel, see if this is something you would like. I'm a weather hobbyist and not a official weather source, and consider subscribing and liking. That helps out with the algorithm. If not, perfectly fine. Thank you for watching in the first place. Okay, looking at the radar, that's the first thing I want to talk about, right? So notice we have a lot of showers and storms occurring across, just in general, the south central United States. It really has erupted in activity and size in the last few hours, and it will be moving gradually to the east and north. Notice that if we were to play this back several hours, right, actually quite a few hours, this is going back all the way to 1:35 p.m. It is now, when I'm recording here, 7:30. And notice, it started off as a few pretty nasty storms across Texas. One went just north of Dallas, as we could see right there, clipped the metro area. And then these little clusters and storms evolved into a broader rain event. Notice, we have a lot of moisture getting piled to the north, but the little isolated buggers still remained. And you can see there's a few popping in a panhandle. They definitely are dropping a lot of rain. While there is a enhanced risk for severe weather today, that's not extremely high, but obviously, a severe storm isn't a thunderstorm. A severe storm is kind of like a thunderstorm on steroids. So an enhanced risk for that is already something that should be concerning, and you can see it affects quite large cities in this: Norman, Wichita Falls, Lafayette, and then the slight risk, which is still something to be concerned about, is Houston, Dallas, Fort Worth, Austin, huge metropolitan areas. So notice, right, this is where they think the highest threat of severe thunderstorms will be. And look at that. These little storms, they're little, but they are dropping tons of rain, possibly some pretty strong hail. The tornado threat does not look too high, though definitely an isolated one is not out of the question. And notice, this is now at 4:30. As he pushes forward, we see a lot of rain going into Louisiana, a massive cluster of thunderstorms developing right there out of just really abundant air from the Gulf of Mexico. Notice, this thing's very slow moving, so flash flooding, definitely a concern. And notice to the north, these storms, as they weaken, they expand into these large blobs of rain, and they also, rain is easily attached to that with the surrounding moisture and the air mass, which is very buoyant. Notice, as we push this even forward into 6-7, this evolves into a rather large-scale storm system. Notice, very heavy bands of rain still going on just north of Houston into Louisiana. The biggest concern with that is definitely the flooding rain amounts, as that is some very heavy rain, you could tell by the radar echoes. And then notice into Arkansas, we have light to moderate rain, a few thunderstorms, and then they're continuing to develop into Oklahoma and areas kind of west. Notice we have quite a bit of snow. Shouldn't say quite a bit, just a decent area of snow across South Dakota, nothing too heavy. And if you're seeing snow right there, right now, shouldn't be really anything to be concerned about. Notice no winter weather advisories or storm watches are issued. Notice to the north, the precip hasn't reached yet, but this will kind of track to the north and east and affect a lot of the south, which is good. A lot of these areas are starting to get a bit dry, especially around the Atlanta metro area. Okay, so I showed you the severe weather threat for today. Again, the strongest being the wind and the hail. You can see tornadoes are definitely there. I wouldn't say it's particularly impressive, but it's a tornado, so it doesn't really have to be impressive in order to be concerning. Let's take a look at Saturday, which is tomorrow. And notice, right, as the storm shifts to the north and east, so does a threat of severe weather, which actually encompasses a good area of the south. Some people were saying that maybe a moderate would be issued. I don't know, and it doesn't really matter, to be honest with you. Moderate and enhanced, that's just a categorical risk given out by meteorologists. And, sometimes Mother Nature throws curveballs, so it's always good to be prepared just for the worst, not stressed or panicked. Just if it does come, you know what to do. So just be prepared. Some, lightning, flooding, hail may be occurring. Again, nothing I would say that is historic or unusual for this time of the year. Notice, let's take a look at the weather models now. So this is the GFS, and let's take it back to the system, what we have going on right now. You can see pretty well depicted by the GFS. And let's lead this forward. Let me get here. Notice, right, by today 1 a.m., the storm's going strong, shifting to the north and east very gradually. Notice across Illinois, Indiana, Missouri, Illinois, southern Indiana. So, really, how far this rain stretches is a bit of a kind of iffy situation. It doesn't seem heavy, even if it does. I live in northern Illinois, Chicago area, and we are pretty dry here, so we'd like some of that rain, but it doesn't look too impressive, unfortunately. Notice that as you push this heavy rain into the south, right, we start seeing maybe a separate low pressure starting to develop off the coast, and you can see that is indicated right there. We kind of have the dying one and a new one, but again, it doesn't really ride up the east coast like some models were showing earlier on in the week. It's just pretty much zones off from west to east, and you can see right there maybe connects with a low pressure that is now dropping a bit of snow across Canada, and that produces a bit of snow there. But generally speaking, you can see that into the Carolinas, Maryland, Delaware, right? We just see that rain kind of spread through, and it's pretty much out of here by late Saturday into early Sunday as it just whips out. But notice that in the future, Sunday, we have, look at that, more snow and rain across Minnesota. So, the snow isn't as far to the south as what we saw this past week, but it's still snow, and it looks as if that could drop a few inches before things warm up into the 60s. Quite literally. I mean, this will be a pretty anomalous warm air mass outside of this low pressure, which you could see by these isobars, these pressures from this high pressure spinning the winds in this direction, the low pressure spinning winds opposite, and we create this avenue of winds that bring very warm air very far to the north. So this is at around the early Monday morning hours. Now, again, showers, really snow across the north. A lot of these locations, especially across North Dakota, South Dakota, are very, very dry, so they need that rain or snow. But again, it doesn't look awfully impressive, but it does bring a bit. Notice, this low pressure is nowhere nearly done. This is where things get concerned. We have an extremely warm air mass at this point. A snowstorm is unlikely, maybe across the mountains and a few areas. But look at that. We start seeing storms, showers develop across much of the United States into late Tuesday, Wednesday. Again, the severe weather threat may now extend further to the north, not just the south. And look at that, finally, rain getting into the drought-stricken areas like the northern United States, Wisconsin, Michigan, portions of Illinois, Indiana, Ohio. And as we push this forward, look at that. This cold front of this low pressure develops into a pretty strong one. Lots of rain again for the Louisiana area, which has just seen very, very wet conditions this year. And notice that pushing this forward, this starts developing into a low pressure system, and boom, the kind of slows its presence, right, and slows its speed, I should say, because you can see it's been going pretty fast, and then the second one develops. At this point, this is now late Thursday into early Friday. Notice it's more of a light rain event to moderate event rather than a severe weather event, which could be going on potentially into Tuesday and Wednesday. But you can see across the south, we still have those signs of yellow, which could be indicating for some storm potential. But then look, it even prolongs its occurrence by developing another low pressure kind of on the east coast. Look at that by Maine around Sunday, now already into May. And you can see it's still going on. So again, this one's definitely something to watch for. No real snow out of this, again, but severe weather, rain, definitely a potential. At this point, flooding doesn't really seem that big of a concern across any portion of the United States, other than, I would say, the deep south, Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, those areas where they have seen a lot of rain. Other areas more likely are average or leaning towards a dry, if not a lot, desperate for rain. Okay, especially the southwest. That being, notice that as we push this forward, warm pattern continues. Look at that, 32-degree line way up here. GFS advertising, very warm temperatures. Notice we have another storm system develop, very slow moving. For several days, you can see it parks its moisture across upper plains of Minnesota, North Dakota, really I should say South Dakota, and notice into May 4th, May the 4th be with you, right? May 5th at this point. Again, this is far out, but what I'm trying to show you is that an active pattern remains, and you can see potentially some storms erupting around Texas, and definitely an active pattern with some bouts of cool air, as you can see right there. If I were to turn on the 2-meter temperature anomalies, there would be some chillier air here. But again, nothing really frost causing, as it's already May 9th. That would have to take a much more anomalous air mass. Overall, I just want to show you what the temperatures look like. After a certain storm system passes through, you can see 40s and 50s, maybe even some frost. Out ahead of these systems, these low pressures, again, bring up a lot of this warm air, and I want to show you that that is a perfect example of this will be happening into Monday and Tuesday of this week. Look at that. Look how warm that is. Very, very warm, right? Minnesota, certain locations of southern Minnesota could be seeing some snow, and now it'll be in the 60s, a day or two later. And then notice this continues. We see that low pressure pass through. It sweeps that warm air off the coast with a little bit of cooler air where the clouds and rain persist. But again, getting very, very hot, blistering heat in the Texas area, which in the Southwest, which makes a lot of people want the chillier temperatures back, right? Look at that, a 90, almost 100 in some areas. Very warm to the north as well, above average, but then equally as it goes above average, look at that, 75 to 48. That's a pretty big anomaly, and we often see those between where the storm system sets up. And yeah, so definitely a active pattern. Let's take a look at the total accumulated precipitation according to the GFS. This is what it shows. You could see decent rains. We would prefer to see some heavier rains across the Dakota area into Minnesota, but it's centered more across the Ozarks, the heaviest, and into Arkansas, the Texarkana area. I just want to show you different model runs. This was the one from noon. You can see generally the same story, nothing too extraordinary different. Notice a bit of rain across the Southwest, which is not too, usual, especially once kind of the wet season is already over. So that's definitely some good news. Not huge amounts of rain, but definitely there. Canadian model, a bit of a worse model, I would say. Now than the upgraded GFS, still a decent model to look at. It does fluctuate quite a bit more. Notice it does center, though, the heavier rain in similar locations. This one's from 12 hours ago. This one's from yesterday at this time. You can see it fluctuated a bit more than a GFS. Though, again, advertising for even, just some rain across the Southwest, which isn't definitely a bad thing. In terms of the short range, with this system we have right now, next 84 hours through Tuesday, you could see what the system could drop. Very heavy rains across Louisiana and Texas, and decent amounts across the southeast. And now Atlanta is in a moderate drought or abnormally dry, I think, right now, officially. So, up to an inch and a half, definitely something they'll get. Notice this model advertises not a lot of rain to the north. So look at that. Definitely some much needed rain from North Dakota. Potentially up to an inch and a half, inch and 7/10. That's definitely good. RGEM, another high-risk model, more based on a Canadian, kind of connected to it. Notice very similar, right? Limits the rain kind of across the Illinois, Indiana, Ohio belt, but to the north we have that event going on into Tuesday, so that's definitely good news. Here's from 12 hours ago or 6 hours ago. You can see pretty consistent. I do want to show you one more model, and that is the European model to show you what's, kind of just the different variations of the weather news. And then notice this is what it shows. We have that system. You can see the European is still the most aggressive one, bringing this precip into, say, Indianapolis, maybe southern Chicago, southern Michigan, where they need, again, quite a bit of rain, or at least just some. And still, though, not too exciting for those folks wanting rain. But to the south, it does bring some much needed rain into the Atlanta metro. And look at that, very strong system, lots of rain, and it continues off the East Coast and speeds off. It does strengthen and could develop into a pretty rain whip system across the Canadian Maritimes. Here's our weekends, or end of the weekend, beginning week system. Notice snow in Wisconsin, maybe just north of Minneapolis on Monday, Sunday night into Monday, and then look, thunderstorms in the same area just a day later. And we see a warm pattern take hold. Look at that red line getting pushed way to the north, and then look at this. Look at that. We just see bouts of these little storms, showers kind of just getting ejected from this low pressure sitting right across Colorado. And this does stall for quite a while. You can see right there, very strong cold front develops, lots of rain, several different areas of low pressure, not really one strong one. But you can see this one does stall to the south and eventually does kind of right up the East Coast, which would bring some prolonged areas of rain. And then look, we have another system, almost a very similar looking one with, again, very warm temperatures out ahead of it. So a warm pattern compared to what we've been having. At least it's going to be around average, which is already warmer than what we've been having, which was quite a bit below average. And we saw, snow into southern Missouri a few days ago. And look at that. These temperatures represent that. 70s, 80s, and of course 90s, and potentially some triple digits across the Southwest. Look at that. This is Tuesday of next week. Very, very warm, including really most of the U.S. Even for the Northeast, 50s are not bad, especially for the chillier weather they've been dealing with thus far. And notice the cool air does move in occasionally, but it doesn't get far to the south, which is what happened the last time. And notice, even if a rain system passes, right, cooler 50s, we see another striking a warm-up after a new system unrolls. And look at that, 90s across the Southwest. areas of cool weather. You can see that's where the rain is with that one system. Getting close to triple digits, or right there, 100. And yeah, 101, 102, definitely not uncalled for. And, this is where we start developing our new system, and that will definitely propel a lot of this area again to the north. So wet, I would say, for a good portion. I wouldn't say really above average. I would say much needed rain, and hopefully it will stay that way. I wanted to take a look at the total quantitative precipitation, not at the precipitation/radar, and notice that a lot of these areas, some of them could pick up decent rains. Iowa's in a pretty good drought in some areas. An inch, a little bit less to the north. Minneapolis, Minnesota, Wisconsin, an inch. Michigan, almost a whole state is under some sort of level of slight drought. 1.5. Indiana, 4. Look at that. 1.5 inches. But by the way, just a fact here, and I'm going to say about Chicago because I know it's true because I saw it. I always give facts about Chicago, but usually applies to the whole region. From the start of spring, March 1st, we've only seen around just over an inch of rain, which really is not a lot. One thunderstorm could drop that amount of rain. So, this thing right here shows around 1.5 inches, which would double our amount. So definitely a drier spring. But look at that. To the south, some of these amounts are not really needed. But here it is also dry, drought area across the southeast. So it's looking like the U.S. is more and more under drought conditions than previously. Look at this. The southwest picking up some rain. Not a lot, but, it's definitely there and could get folks through the drought that's been very bad across the southwest. I figured I might as well show you what this drought looks like since I've been talking about it for so long. Notice, this is what it looks like. And yeah, you could see more of the U.S. is under abnormally dry or drought conditions than not. And any area that isn't white. Notice the Northwest got a bit better this year because of the very wet winter they had. Still slight drought occurring, and then across the northern plains, a significant drought, a severe one, and then across the southwest, it's just exceptional. Look at those areas, large swaths covered with just desperate needing of water. Notice Texas starting to also kind of be filled in with that drought, and here the Midwest and Northeast have been really unusually seeing some dry conditions. The last 4 or 5 springs here in my area have been wet, so now not only a average but a below average season is really a contrast, which again, it doesn't look that bad, but it's definitely heading towards in some areas, severe drought. And you can see the southeast not too particularly wet either, so the rain is needed. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you all guys in the next episode. See ya. Bye.